Alright guys, this is a very on the spot video. I'm not even using a tripod. So vaccine mandates. Those have been in the news quite a bit the last couple of months, and I just want to give my thoughts on them. Now, where I live in Chicago, January 3rd to be exact, so just a couple of days ago into the new year, Happy New Year, it probably should have started that off anyway. Vaccine mandates have actually been implemented where I live, in the very city I live in. When I was dining at a restaurant one day, this was between Christmas and New Year's, the waiter asked us to see our COVID certificates. I had it on my phone and our IDs to approve that it was ours and not someone else's. And I noticed something interesting when I'm in this restaurant. There was a couple who walked in, and the waiter does the same thing. It's like, let me see your COVID certificates, and the woman says, it was a man and a woman obviously, the woman says, I have a negative test. I don't have a COVID certificate, but I have a negative test. And the guy says, I honestly didn't really catch what he said, but they wound up leaving. So it kind of gives you an inside look as to what this creates. Less customers, less traffic, less business for some of these places. I went to McDonald's yesterday. I had to do the same thing. I was expecting it though, so I had my phone out, had my ID out, because I was dining in. And this has created like a lot of political divide, a lot of political stir in the United States, which really goes without saying, but also in many European countries, in say like Italy, UK, Spain, and again, a lot of countries have had similar, I guess, outrage over this whole thing. So, and obviously, the routine when I was in Europe, it basically was implemented like well before like a lot of other places, I think, like, especially in the US. So you might be surprised, because I am a leftist, obviously, you might be surprised to know that I'm actually not exactly for these mandates. I do think they are an overreach. I think that there definitely is, there's a way around them, right? So I think you should have the option to either have a vaccine certificate, like the proof of vaccination, or a negative COVID test. So that couple should have been allowed to dine there, 100%. I'm not okay with this whole vaccine or bust thing necessarily, because again, there could be some people who maybe they can't get vaccinated for whatever reason. I'm not talking about the bullshit religious excuse, but they could have a medical thing that, maybe they've had vaccines in the past and they just had a huge allergic reaction to them. So what about them? In my work, they basically did the same thing. Like, you have to have a vaccine to enter certain like parts of the business. And yeah, to be frank, I mean, I'm not exactly for this. I think you should be able to opt out for a negative test. And yeah, I'm not really for these things. That would be my compromise. That's my middle ground. But the fact that there's never been anyone who voted for these kinds of things, they just kind of did them, they implemented them. Same way how they changed Lakeshore Drive to Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Lakeshore Drive. Fuck all that bullshit before. It's just Lakeshore Drive, okay? It was the same thing there, right? There was never a referendum on this. Nobody voted for it. It was decided by the higher-ups. And yeah, I'm not okay with that either. Like, if you're gonna do shit like this, at least have the fucking decency to ask us what we think about it. Like a poll or something like that, okay? Don't just fucking do it, because of course you're gonna create anger. Of course you're gonna create a lot of fucking people who are pissed off, rightfully so. So yeah, that's where I stand on these whole vaccine mandates, because obviously it's been in the news for months now, obviously very much into the new year, 2022. So yeah, I just want to give you my 2 cents on this topic, and that's where I stand. It should be a test, proof of negative test, or the vaccine certificate, not vaccine certificate or bust. Thank you.